Preparing live stream. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Debbie from Teacher Success Coach. Yes, we back now. I've had a little time off and now we're back. So we have the Teachers Educated Roundtable I started last night where we looked at home education, and today we'll be looking at teaching pre and post pandemic. What is it like for us right now going back into the classroom? Sorry, I've just realized I've paused. Okay, right. Going back into the classroom post and pre and post pandemic. What is it like for us now that we go back into the classroom? What are some of the challenges we're having? And believe me, we're having plenty. Right. So introduce Leonora.
Hi everyone. So my name's Leonora Johnson. Um, I've been a primary school teacher for 20 years now. I've taught in a range of schools from mainstream to independent schools to international schools, both in Dubai and the Cayman Islands, and most recently an independent school in London. I'm based in Kent, and yeah, been in the industry for a long time. I've kind of ventured out myself to kind of work on some of my own projects, but I know especially during COVID, where I know many of us had lots of challenges, it was definitely an experience that I had to kind of navigate through, as many offshore of you have all had to go through.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we did have a lot of challenges. When you reflect on teaching since the pandemic, what feels most differently now when you go back into the classroom?
I would say there's lots that I think that I've noticed quite a lot of issues with the children. Some of them, it's lots of the time I feel that there's a lot of gaps in their learning. I feel like because some of them didn't engage fully with the technology during COVID, I feel like lots of them weren't able to access, and their parents felt that they couldn't support them as well. So I kind of feel like I identify there's quite a lot of gaps that it's quite difficult to feel when I feel in the classroom there's such a pressure to kind of cover the curriculum within that age, that within that like kind of like subject matter for that year group. And
Mhm,
sometimes it's a case that they've missed so many things. It could even be just even phonics. If they're say year 4, they might have missed some of the key learn teaching in phonics in year 1 that they kind of have gaps in. Another thing I noticed as well is sometimes their behaviour I feel has been significantly affected. I feel like they're not able to focus as well. I feel like you have to kind of adapt your teaching to kind of cater for that lack of focus. So I
mhm,
often feel like I have to do short tasks and then do some activity kind of to break away from the class. Whether it's I do you did a lot of like movement breaks or different activities so that the children aren't just sat still for too long, because I feel like they can't seem to kind of engage as well some of the time.
mhm,
Another thing I've noticed is relationships with each other. I feel like they seem to have a lot more conflict. They seem to be less tolerant of each other at times.
mhm,
And I feel that sometimes it's because they didn't have that time on in those kind of crucial times where they missed that interaction with each other.
mhm,
And I feel like they depend a lot on technology, and I feel like because of that, I feel like lots of their social skills have been lacking.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Thank you. It's interesting because you in primary, I'm in secondary, and that's
Yeah,
exactly what I've noticed.
right.
In terms of the communication is not there, they're intolerant of each other, the behavior is off the radar,
Yeah,
you know. And for us, it's a situation where there are times you cannot be punishing the child. We need to look deep into what are the causal factors.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, because the behavior is huge, bearing in mind that they were online all the time. They had no discipline when they was home. They were doing their own thing, etc. So when they come back to the classroom, you have to start setting that boundaries. So we cannot really blame them too much. You know,
No.
we need to try to navigate it. And I think that's what some of the issues we as teachers are having, because we don't know how to navigate that, and we are presented with this pile of behavior issue and we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially teachers that are less experienced, I feel like they kind of have a lot more challenges than, say, myself, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in schools where I've worked both like on a permanent basis and a supply basis, especially when I go in supply on a supply basis, lots of the times the teachers are off for long-term sickness because they find it's a struggle, and they might have been off work for long-term sick, or it could be just and it's just sometimes even listening into other classes and seeing how they treat other supply teachers. I've been in some schools where it's the case where I've heard a teacher having such a challenging time in the class that I've left where I am and gone to intervene because it's got that bad. And this is the future of some of our children's education, you know. And I feel like it's quite concerning that as you described, the behaviour is for some schools and children is completely out of hand, and I feel the parents are struggling as well because they almost don't kind of know what to do or where to turn to and things like that.
Thank you. It is so true. Because when I'm covering, I do supply. When I do long-term supply, I go into the school and is assert my authority, because I'm long-term supply, 1 year or a little bit extra. So therefore, it's a different attitude. But when I do
Mm.
the day covering, I did some daily cover a few weeks ago. Oh my goodness! I now realize why I don't do daily cover, because the children were, it was off the scale. They had no boundaries. Every word was a swear word. And
Yeah.
I had to say to myself, and I had to remind myself, Debbie, you're not here long term. You're just covering for a few days. You have no energy to try to instill discipline with the students, because they know you're just covering and they don't care. And this was in one group, it was six formers. And I'm saying
Wow.
to myself, wow. And I had to say to them, every sentence is a swear word. You guys are constantly swearing at each other. I've not
Mm.
seen that for a long time. So
Yeah.
normally, let's say if I go into a school, most of my schools are long-term contract. So when I go into school, if I see that, I'm stamping it out because I'm your teacher for the academic year. So I'm not having that.
Mm.
So I had to remind myself, hello, you just passing, just hush them out and babysit the students. And when you finish, you leave. And you're so right, because a lot of the teachers who are off were off on long-term sickness.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a hard, because could you imagine that some of the teachers having to deal with these students with this behavior where they don't know what to do? Like, you have intervened in several situations where the students were, getting off on the teacher, and I had to say them pause,
Yeah.
and it's challenging.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you deal with this type of behavior?
Do you mean me personally or in
Yes.
general?
Yeah, I just mean you personally. How do you deal with this type of behavior? One, the plus is you have primary school. So would you say, when you reflect on primary school children, that the behavior, because you say you've done secondary school as well. So would you say the behavior is on par with secondary school, or would you say they're a little bit less aggressive, less?
Not necessarily, no. I feel like people always get kind of have the idea that children in primary are easier to deal with, but they're not. I feel like some of them, they might, I wouldn't say they're less aggressive. They might be less, like, they might not be 6 foot tall, but they still can be aggressive. They can either hit out at each other or they can hit out at you. And obviously they will do things where they know that you kind of have to like either restrain them or get support. And sometimes I've been in situations where the children are so out of hands, more than one person's had to come and restrain them. Sometimes the children are really, I mean, how I've dealt with it is I feel like I just make it clear what my boundaries are. And it's like having a case of developing a relationship of trust with those children as well. And I focus when I have my behaviour strategies is mostly focused on the positive. So I try to engage with positive reinforcement and like celebrate what's successful as opposed to what isn't going well. And I often find that when you are celebrating those of you that the successes, then it can in turn those other children's behaviours around. So you just kind of bring in certain, whether it's the school's behaviour policy or you kind of adopt some of the things that you kind of like have used in different settings. Sometimes I feel that makes a difference. But also, as I said, it's all about behaviour. Just like in making sure that you're making clear your authority. So the children don't try to cross me most of the time, because that I feel like it's about your body language, your tone of voice, and showing that you're in control. Because I noticed that a lot of teachers, they're all human, but lots of the time, when they're trying to discipline children, they tend to shout a lot. And unfortunately, with shouting, children can be so used to hearing shouting that it doesn't have an impact. So it's about ensuring that people are clear and exuberating that through how your stance is and how you speak to those children and waiting for them. And if they're not ready, then you're not going to teach, and it's them that's losing out, not yourself. Do you understand what I mean? And sometimes I've had situations where I've done daily supply, and I've had some challenging schools, and I say to those children, at the end of the day, I'm here to teach you. I'll get paid regardless if I teach you or don't. So I've made the choice to be here. So you make the decision if you're going to learn or not. And often they kind of think, oh, actually, yeah, it's true.
Exactly. The penny drop. The penny drop.
Yeah, or I'll pick out a child's name, and it's like I don't know any of the children's names. I haven't done a register, and it's picking out a child, and I'm like, I know your name already for the wrong reason, and you're the first impressions count. I don't. I will have the image of you as I'm coming to this classroom of you because you showed me a side to you that has stood out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
those kind of things, really.
Yeah, it's so interesting. That is so very true. Yes, thank you for that. You say you've taught in independent school, in a London school, and out of the country. How would you say in terms of the students' readiness to learn in those different areas that you've taught?
Um, it really varies. It really varies, and I would say in independent schools, there's always the preconception that children are there, children's behaviour is excellent because they go to private schools, their parents pay lots of money for them to go, they're the top 10% of the country. And in reality, that's not always the case. Their parents pay for them, yes, and obviously, as a parent myself, and you want to get value, you want to make sure that that you're paying for a service that your child is going to do well, but the children don't always carry that through. So sometimes I have taught some classes where the children can be quite challenging because you have the flip side of parents might have money, but it doesn't mean they know how to parent.
Yes, yes.
Um, and sometimes parents that not saying that it's always the case, but some parents like aren't always able to like shine and ensure that the boundaries are met. And sometimes I find sometimes when there's certain types of parents, I'm not going to pinpoint a certain group, but sometimes it's almost like they're worried about children's rights, so they don't I'm not saying you have to hit children or anything like that, but it's almost like they're scared to tell them off. And it's all about being each other's friends. Yeah, yeah, you can have a good relationship with your children, but you still need to ensure that it's I'm the parent and you're the child.
Yes. Yes. And I think, thank you for that. And I think there's where the boundaries are blurred. So as a result of that, when these children come to the classroom to us, they seem to think that we are their friends. And
Yeah,
when they don't, when we actually tell them off for wrongdoing or we have boundaries, oh, I'm not your friend anymore. And they have to be reminded that we are not friends.
yeah,
I am your teacher. And that is because I do feel that when parents don't have boundaries when with where the children stand, that's the situation we constantly have.
yeah,
That
sure.
it spill over. And
Yeah, definitely.
it's really sad. And something you've said in terms of independent school, it is such a misconception because I too have taught in a number of private school, and it's unrealistic expectation from some of the parents because some of the children cannot make it to the level that the parents are expecting them to do at that time. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that they cannot make it all together, but they need extra time to do that. And it is an expectation, and it's like, you are the teacher, you're supposed to make them pass. I've had a situation where, parents in parents' evening talking to a colleague of mine, and both of us saying that, oh, yes, well, you are the teachers, you're supposed to make sure they get that grade. No, it's not. We are here to teach your children. Your children have to do the work. But they don't seem to think like that. They think the fact that they're coming to a private school and they're paying for it, your role is to make sure the child pass at whatever cost.
yeah, sure, definitely.
And it's quite a misconception. And as
Yeah,
you say, in terms of private school, I've had some of them that I keep on reminding them that your parents are paying a lot of money for you and you are messing around. How
yeah,
would your parents feel if they know that you are messing around? So
yeah.
those are some of the reality within this independent school that people don't see.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And then you also on the on the flip side, you also have I have been in schools where the demographic is quite low income families, could be from traveller communities. And some of the children are in school and they want to be there and they want to learn. And then you've also got the children where education isn't a thing, so the parents don't really care that much.
Mhm.
It's just but they almost see us as a babysitting service,
Yes.
which is again another disappointing kind of way that it's perceived teachers are.
Yeah, it is very true. And for me, sometimes the babysitting stuff is, especially when you do, like daily supply and it's a disruptive school, the students know that, oh, you're only covering us. You're not our real teacher, so we don't have to behave.
Yeah,
And it makes life so challenging. You're thinking, you're just looking at the clock until 3:15 comes along. you know, because it is so painful, especially when you're just covering and you're not covering your subject.
yeah,
There's sometimes I'm covering maths and I'm thinking, you know what, that's why I don't like cover, because you're covering another subject and it's like it is a babysitting.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
a shame though, because I feel like regardless if you're covering someone or not, you're still a teacher.
Yes.
And it's just unfortunate that that it's dealt with like that. And most of us are more experienced than that actual class teacher. We've made the choice to do supply, not because we can't get a permanent job.
Exactly. 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 Because we want to see how other schools operate. And you're thinking,
Yeah,
wow, 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 wow.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Another question is, how have you managed to balance between academic and emotional challenges of the students?
Um,
Balance the academic needs of the child to the emotional needs of the child. How do you balance it? Because there's sometimes it's, you know,
I think most, especially if it's my own class, I feel like I kind of develop relationships with the children where they always feel that they can trust me and that I'm there to support them.
mhm,
So I feel like once you kind of maintain that relationship and children you develop their confidence to kind of have a go. I always kind of in my classrooms, I always let children feel that we learn by making mistakes. It doesn't matter if we get it wrong, and it doesn't. And you know, we're all here to support each other. And you know, I even give my own examples of me making mistakes. And I feel like once you develop that environment where children feel safe, then they can learn in that environment because they know that they're not being judged all the time. And I feel like I've not had to have, there's never been a case of balancing one against the other. I feel like the academic performance is supported because they feel comfortable that they are trying their best and
Right.
that they're, yeah. So I wouldn't say they particularly suffered as such.
Right.
It just depends on what which school I come into in the cohort and how many gaps in their learning there is. Because some classes I've been to, like I went to a school and I was teaching year two, and it was in quite a impoverished area, and the children were so low that some of them could barely write their name. So you know that's a significant gap that they've got 2 years prior of education. They can't even write their name, you know, and some of them couldn't really. And I'm not saying that some of the children didn't have special needs, but sometimes there were certain basic um, things that they just didn't know.
Thank you. What strategy have you taken into the classroom from, during the pandemic time?
Um, I don't know if I've taken these strategies as such, other than I guess I guess with the pandemic, it encouraged children to use technology more. And I feel like we're in a society. We're in a, it's always like it's a conflicting kind of situation where our changes in needs and society means that we need to be more au fait with technology um, because of how our the working life has become, and how AI is kind of taking over in many aspects. So I feel like those children now, in terms of bringing it, only thing from COVID was making sure that children have those skills to be able to access technology. But I wouldn't say that my lesson's just about technology, because I feel like it will lose some of those like basic principles of writing, because obviously during the pandemic they had to type a lot of their work. It wasn't quite the same as writing an exercise book. Well, for many schools anyway. I mean, our school that I was in, the school I was in, we did a combination of both. But you know, some schools they kind of pulling away from that. You know.
Thank you. So during the pandemic, the children you taught the primary school, when they came back, did they have access to a laptop or tablets? What's the situation with that?
I was in the Cayman Islands at the time,
Oh,
and
wow. What was it like over there?
for during pandemic or in
Yes,
general,
during the
um,
pandemic.
it was a challenge, but we navigated it well. I was the head of year at the time, and my colleagues they weren't as au fait with the technology, so I felt I had a thing where I had to lead the team. I had to train my colleagues on the technology because they were a bit like, you know, they I'm not saying ran away from it, but they weren't computer literate as I might have been, because I was the youngest in the team. And then so that was like a challenge in itself. And then there's also the parents that look after children, where you have to kind of troubleshoot with with the parents where we can. So once and we used like Teams for a lot of our lessons.
Okay.
So it was quite difficult. We did pre-recorded PowerPoint, so I recorded a lot of my lessons on PowerPoint. So I voice over my lesson, and then I would have a follow-on activity which was on Teams that children accessed, and then each day I'd work with the children and groups to kind of have feedback on how they did. So
Mhm.
it was a case of, it would be a question and answer type thing, just to see how they access to just assess their learning really,
Mhm. Mhm.
and to kind of just have a platform where they could be together with each other, so that we didn't lose the complete social aspects of the day.
Mhm.
And also I used to do, like, we used to do morning videos introducing the day, letting them know what's going to happen for the day, the activities for the day.
Mhm.
So yeah, there was some good things we got out of it, and for some children it was the best thing for them,
All right.
especially those children that may have been known neurodivergent, in that,
Yes.
and that they weren't so good at communicating. Those children seem to thrive in that environment.
Mhm.
But many of the other children, some of them, there was a lot of struggling between the parents and the child, and sometimes some of them didn't engage every day.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it was really hit and miss.
Mhm. 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 It's interesting though, because this is something I spoke to a number of teachers about, and they all find the same thing, that children who are neurodiverse, they found working on the platform much easier.
Yeah,
You know, they actually came in their own. They were actually walking to their strengths, and they were
yeah, they were.
dealing with it. So which was that was quite interesting, because that is a common, factor we all saw. Thank you for that. What we know, many teachers have actually suffered exhaustion. Some of them suffer burnout before pandemic and even after pandemic, even more so now. What do you do to maintain your health and well-being?
Um, Different things.
Mm-hmm.
I spend time with my friends and family. I'm quite a social person, so I can be. I'm often tired, but I still try and make time to kind of switch off and do things for myself, and to connect with my friends and family. When I can, I listen to music. That's one of my escapes, but I often listen to music for different things. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks. Sometimes I exercise. Sometimes I say to myself, you know what? If I can't do it now, it's gonna have to wait. And you might not always please everyone, but sometimes it's important to make sure you have that time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know the teaching profession is a bit of a crisis in terms of one's mental health, and just health in general. And schools are not retaining teachers at the rate that they used to anymore, and many of us are leaving the profession in our droves. Really, I
Yeah.
mean, you and I, we both have been in education for a long time, but we're some of few. People that are qualifying nowadays, they're lucky if they make 5 years.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know,
It is so very true. Some of them, especially the new NQTs, and it could actually be a make or break for them, especially if they're going to a school and it's so negative. They just
yeah,
they just do their training and they're out of it.
I know.
So many teachers that they've just done the training and they're out of it. Or some of them
Mm,
just say they're only been there 2 years, and 2 years they're gone.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's crazy, really.
Yeah, it is. It is quite sad that this is where we are at, because of the amount of stress that people are going through in terms of the education system. There's what are your thoughts on this? When people say to you, well, they usually do to everybody anyway, look, you guys are so lucky. You have so much holidays. So I don't know what you're moaning about. I'm sure
I
you hear this statement.
I used to hear it. I used to hear it a lot. And even teachers, I've known of teachers that say, people think that the holidays are for us to have holidays, but you can't get all your work done if you don't work in your holidays. I'm thinking, like, okay, that is the case. And most of my teaching career, I spent holidays, days in school and all that. But the people that see what us teachers go through, they said I could never do it.
Yes.
You guys work too hard. I could never be a teacher. I don't have the patience for children nowadays. Oh, the children that you have nowadays, oh my gosh, they're off the scale now, do you know? So I feel like people are getting a bit more of a realistic understanding of the teaching profession.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's from the media or from their own experience when they see that their child's teacher's not going to be the same teacher from September to July,
Mm.
or this person started in September, now they're leaving. Like, I think they're getting to understand a little bit more than they used to.
Yeah, it is very true because it's now, I suppose people are seeing us with a common thing you see a lot of teachers is this backpack. We are constantly having this backpack. It's like you bring the work home, you didn't have time to do it, you bring it back. Sometimes for the whole week, that's what you're doing. Bringing it home, bringing it back. And you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to leave this in the classroom because I'm not going to mark it. I don't have the time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's just it's almost like becoming an impossible job.
Yes.
It's like you never ever fully like complete ever.
Yep. Yep, it is so very true. And the only people who actually see the true nature of that is your family.
For
Because
people around you, yeah.
exactly, because they're in it. And you're right, because a lot of them used to say, oh, yeah, you guys get so much holidays. I don't know what you guys are moaning about. Da, 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 da. But I think since the pandemic, they become even so aware of the holiday. We're not even having the holiday because you have a whole lot of marking to do or going to set up the classroom. So
Yeah,
you don't have all of it.
no. Or plan for the year ahead,
Oh, yes, that's
or
another
the
thing.
term ahead, or
Yeah, yeah,
there's always something. There's never the job is never over. So that's why, as I mentioned, I've taken some time out. And as I said, I don't know. To me, I don't feel like it's a time out. I feel like it's now my time to work on areas that I want to work on. And as I mentioned to you earlier, that I feel like, children's conflict and relationship is something that is a feature, particularly since the pandemic, and it's an area where I'd like to kind of work in schools with and basically provide a service for them.
yeah. It's a service that is really overdue and is needed
Yeah.
because as we both said, that the student, they're so intolerant of each other.
Yeah. And I feel like once they get to do is mediation basically, but once they understand it, how another person's feeling, it makes them kind of put things into perspective
Yeah,
and feel like they've more got a voice and they're all able to empathize a bit more.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you have to train those skills. It's not necessarily automatic for them.
yeah.
So
It is
yeah,
very true. And especially if they're younger, it's not
yeah,
even automatic because they don't even know how to regulate their emotions.
no,
Yeah.
no,
So it's like regulating the emotions. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. What do you think educators need most right now to feel supported and empowered? Because we've just identified that they're all leaving the profession. What do we think that they need right now to be empowered?
I don't know if it's a straightforward thing that you can say it's not a one trick pony thing. I think there are different aspects. I think I know that they're talking about introducing a 4-day week.
Yes, I've seen
Um
it actually. I've seen it advertised. I think it's TS. I can't remember which one of the school was advertising. Oh, we do a full 4-day week, and we're now introducing it. So I thought that was quite interesting.
yeah. So that could help. Um but the thing is I feel that the pressures of the classroom is that they're cutting back on support, and a lot of the children have special needs and they need that support.
Yeah,
And it's not a case of you can have one TA. I feel like lots of children need they're not having the funding to support the children in the classroom,
mhm,
and also the expectations of the teachers is like quite significant, especially lots of academies. I feel like the expectations of what they want from teachers it's just a bit unrealistic from people that are not really necessarily in the classroom and don't have experience of the current day-to-day climate. I just feel like it's people that are a little bit detached from the classroom.
Yeah, it is very, very true because these are CEOs, right?
Yeah, lots of them are.
Yeah, CEOs. So how do you know how to run the classroom? It's quite
Exactly.
sad. It's
Yeah.
quite sad that education, I say to my student, education is a business. And
Yeah.
the parents are shopping around to find the right school. I say it's like when they go to the supermarket, they're trying to see which product is cheaper. That's the same
Yeah.
thing they're doing in schools. They're
Yeah.
shopping around to see which school have is on in terms of the league table. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good school.
No, because some schools can play the game.
Yes,
They know what they need to show when the inspectors come,
yes,
and they'll perform those things. So it doesn't show, it hasn't got a bearing of what the school's always necessarily like.
yep. That's very, very true. Thank you. And finally, what piece of advice would you give to educators to ensure that they don't get burnout and they are able to support the students in the classroom?
Um, it's a difficult question. I think that some of the advice I'd give is always take time out for you. I think that's very important. Because there's only one you, and if anything happens to you tomorrow, you'll be replaced just like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and children, as much as we love the children that we teach, we try to do the best by them. We're no good to them when we're not in a good place ourselves.
Mhm,
And children are very receptive to how we are. And if you're having a bad day, sometimes it impacts the children's behaviour. So
mhm,
you need to try your best to try and maintain like a healthy. It was almost like I'm trying to almost say the impossible to have a healthy work-life balance, but it's still important. You still need to make time out for you. As much as we have to prepare for our Monday on a Sunday sometimes, take time out for yourself, your family, to make sure that you do right by you.
mm. Yeah, thank you. I so agree with that piece. Remember self-care because as teachers, you forget the fundamental, which is care for yourself.
Yeah,
Constantly giving. Sometimes you're pouring from an empty cup.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And we're no good to anyone when we're like that.
exactly.
That's when we most like to be with, like, impatient with the children. Our performance is altered if we're not in a good place. I definitely feel that.
Mm,
So,
mm, mm. Right. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say to us, or are there any questions you want to ask?
not that I can think of. No.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your educational journey that you are now getting off on this journey. You're now saying, I've had enough. I'm just pausing a bit,
Yeah,
get enough, and do something for me. Because too often we are so into teaching, we forget that we need to do something for us.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
And me too. I'm actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing supply because I have a book I want to finish.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, but it's on teaching, isn't it?
Doesn't matter. It's still an accomplishment that you're working towards something that you want to do. That's great.
And so and then I've written a course on parenting, which
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to finish marking because I realize that, when the children come to us, they come to us with baggages. And as you say, in terms of parents, some of the parents don't know how to navigate their children. And the children just come to us with all of that. And we have to
Yeah,
start unpacking before we're able to teach them, especially in secondary school, when
definitely.
the GCSE coming up, the A level coming up, and they don't even know how to navigate anything at all.
No, it's true. But no, that's another area that I would like to get into, like consulting parents. I feel like we do it naturally within our jobs, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely an area that's necessary as well.
yeah, it is so needed, so needed. So thank you very much for you coming on with your journey and keep up updated when you actually, finish.
Launch.
Come back and
Yeah,
talk to us about it.
I will do. That sounds
It
great.
would be
Yes.
fantastic. Come back.
Yeah.
We know where you are on that journey, etc. And
Yeah,
a lot of us just leaving because we tired. We
I
tired.
know that too.
We tired. Anyway, Facebook, thank you guys very much for coming on. Yes, I'm back on now. Next week, I'll be doing the Wednesday and Thursday, on the Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So I'm back now. Right. I've had a little rest,
Mhm.
and now I'm back with my teachers and my home education educators. So tune in for us to have this discussion.